What, she keeps stealing water supplies from villagers or something?
Yeah. Oh shit! Here we go, podcast.
Yeah, boy!
That
this podcast's going to open with 2 minutes of laughter track from you guys.
Welcome, guys, to the podcast.
Welcome to our brand new format podcast, which will hopefully be a lot more regular than our other ones.
Yes, hopefully we've actually got onto a time basis now. Hopefully you've already listened to the first MMO cast that came out.
Better have listened to you motherfuckers.
But yeah, but this is the first. We are planning to release this the same day every month, with a date at which will be the uploading of this video, because we're not sure.
We will always release this on the 31st.
Okay.
Yeah,
I foresee no problems with this.
You only get 7 videos a year.
Exactly. Great. Be lazy bastards.
So we'll pick a date and we'll upload this video, and it will be up there for you guys to watch on the same date every month to coincide with the other videos that we do. But yes, so this is the first podcast proper, guys. I'm sure on the number on the video you're watching you'll have a different number. It was like 6 or whatever, but fuck it, because it's a
Stop talking.
That's fine. So basically, we've been having this debate, and we think we'd like to bring onto the podcast, and that is Final Fantasy VII. It was released on Steam, re-released. It's good. It gives people who weren't able to do it to play it before the chance to play it. But it has microtransactions, and I can tell you at least one person here has very strong feelings about this particular idea.
2 people.
2 people at least.
Yes, at least.
And I'd like for you guys to state your claim.
I think.
Go for it, Wayne. You start.
Go.
Why? Okay, no, you start.
Fuck's sake.
That's all you need. Why?
Why? Yeah, why?
That's all we need.
Well, it's for the people who are too lazy to grind. They wanna buy their way through the game.
No, I'm sorry. If you're too lazy to grind, go play a game that isn't a grinding JRPG.
It's true. I mean, I always found that when I play a JRPG, part of the charm is the grinding aspect. It's the idea that you actually have to sort of go through and you actually have to fight for those level ups, not just go through the game and everything will be fine.
Like it literally says here, okay. Right, I'm on Steam right now, reading from the page. Character booster. Find yourself stuck on a difficult section or lacking the funds to buy that vital phoenix down? With the character booster, you can increase your HP, MP, and guild levels to their maximum, all with the simple click of a button, leaving you to enjoy your adventure.
How much is?
What the fuck? I don't know. It doesn't say. It says literally off. If you go onto the Final Fantasy VII Steam page, it's in their like points of. It's in their advertisement of what makes the game good. No.
It sounds kind of like that's either aimed at people who want to play the game again purely for nostalgia but are too lazy to enjoy the full experience. Or
but that is the full experience.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Or kind of they think that will get people to just enjoy their game if they come along and just buy all level ups, and it's like, well, if that's part of your game experience, somebody new to the series isn't going to go play it and boost their way up, because then they'll be like, oh, I don't get what this game is about, and they won't buy any more. It doesn't seem to make sense at all.
I get what you mean completely. I mean, I played Final Fantasy 7, I had Final Fantasy 3 and 4 on my DS and things like that, and I've always seen as much as annoying as it can be sometimes, I see the charm in grinding, because it's like you're working towards something. I feel like, fuck achievements, that was the original time when I think I felt like I'd achieved something when I beat a boss. Like, same with Pokemon, like, when you have to level up Pokemon to get them to be able to beat the gym leaders, when you beat them, that's really the first time when I was a kid that I really felt, I actually worked and achieved this, and I felt good about it afterwards. So, I mean, taking that out reduces the charm of Final Fantasy VII for me a little bit.
Yeah, and it's
the challenge.
Yeah, exactly. I quite enjoy, I really enjoy the thing.
They did it with number 8 as well, like they released Final Fantasy 8 on Steam also. I'm imagining they're going to also release 9 eventually. But they put in I don't know if they've got more, but they've got a magic booster. Where magic booster is used, the player's inventory of the following spells is increased by 100. And it's, your cure, your fire, your main spells, like, you get, it's in your inventory is increased by 100. Why? Yeah. Again,
just quickly, I'm on a website that says that The character booster will cost no real money to use. So it's not real money, basically. If you get a certain amount of gil, you can use to boost your character. So you still have to earn the gil to get it, but at the same time, it's still not quite grinding. It's similar, but it's not quite as long process as.
Say, grind for an hour and then be max level instead of, hey, grind for like 100 hours and be able to finish this game. Because that's
if you're gonna grind, do it properly. Don't pussy out and use some like halfway microtransaction thing. Be a man and smash your face into that game for years of your life.
You've got to twerk it big time to get some real to get some real level up.
You got to shake that booty.
Yeah, you got to really.
Yeah.
Well, let me play devil's advocate. Who's the game targeted at? Is it people who originally played the game, or are they looking for new players? Because if it's for the new players, then I understand, because they're so used to games like which have been watered down. Because I mean, the games nowadays are so much easier than the games that there were back in our day. Sega Mega Drives. How many of those games did you complete, and how many games nowadays do you complete? Because they're just so easy.
Here's a fun fact for you. When I was a kid, I used to finish Streets of Rage on a regular basis. Since I've turned 18 and I started playing it again, cannot finish it. Not once.
Right.
Cannot beat the two fucking little bitch ass fucking acrobatic kung fu bitches. Sorry, it makes me so angry.
No, but I mean, that's my point. Back then we had the patience because there were no watered down games. We were just so used to these hardcore. Well, I say hardcore, but these tough games. Whereas now we're so used to the straightforward games where you can get through the level in one go. Even if it's a new game, you can literally get through the level and with no problems. Whereas back then you may have to do a level, depending on what game it was, 5 or 6 times before you actually completed it.
Yeah.
It's completely different now, and I think that might be the issue here. And that may be why they've done this.
Yeah, I think that's quite a big problem. I think like Final Fantasy VII was really in that transition era between everything being really fucking hard and not really holding your hand through anything, which was quite amazing. Like,
right.
I watched a video. A few people who listen to this may have watched a video as well. It's a guy who talks about Mega Man, and he talks about Mega Man in a way that it's a game that never really holds your hand, but at the same time it introduces mechanics to you and then tests those mechanics. Like it will say, this boss, there's one of this boss, and he's weak against this type of attack. But then later on that level, they'll give you 2 of them, and now by that point you already know what their weakness is, so you've tested it, and and so in your mind you're sort of recalling something you learned a bit earlier, So I haven't really explained it very well, but it's like back then it wasn't really tutorials. It was, here's a mechanic, test it out. We're not going to tell you exactly what to do, but you'll figure it out. So when you get later on, you already know this stuff. Now everything's just tutorial, and it really sort of takes away from the fact that eventually they'll just be like, oh, by the way, this thing is weak to this, so you should, you should just do this. Don't worry about it. It's just, and I understand what you're saying. It comes with this sort of like. Final Fantasy VII was, as I say, was really in that transition period where it still had tutorials, but it was a difficult game to play still. But now, kids these days want to play that game, but without the hours and hours and hours of grinding that come with it.
Well, think of it like this way: the kids and people that would sort of be into microtransactions in this day, they will open up that game, see the graphics are bad, and instantly say, "Oh, this is a shit game. The graphics are bad."
Yeah,
they'll instantly say that. So even if there are microtransactions for that audience, they're not going to want to play the game.
Yeah,
because they're so outdated.
Yeah, that really sort of comes on to the fact of like, do graphics really matter when a game's that good?
They don't. No. However, to people, it seems to be that for the major part. The older audience, the people that have grown up with games like from like the Sega Mega Drive, SNES type region, don't care too much about graphics. Like sometimes they may prefer them, but if there's a game with bad graphics, it doesn't matter to them. Whereas kids in this day and age, like 13-year-old people, 14-year-old people, that would care about buying all these well, I thought originally it was microtransactions. I heard there were microtransactions.
Yeah, so did I. Yeah.
But either way, like. Skipping all the way to max level, they're the sort of kids that also care about what a game looks like, and they will determine whether the game is any good by its graphics from the start. If the game's got bad graphics, which the game, they are pretty bad, but I don't care. Like, it's an amazing game. They're not going to be there to take benefit from the fact that you can level straight up to whatever.
Yeah, the thing is with Final Fantasy games, the Square Enix games, they've always, for their time, they've always been very graphically advanced. And unfortunately now, obviously, Final Fantasy VII has lagged behind a little bit. But as another thing that it comes to is, if they wanted to do that, surely they should try and update the graphics a little bit and that sort of thing. And the idea of Final Fantasy VII being remade just kind of gives me a headache. So I think, to be honest, releasing on the PC, fine. It gives it gives people who haven't played it a chance to play it, but also gives those people that don't have a PlayStation now a chance to play the game again on their PC. Because let's be fair, PCs don't really have a generation. They just have this, the one thing. You can keep going. As soon as you activate Steam on a PC, you've got the game. You can download it. Doesn't matter how many years into the future you have it, it's always there. So, I mean, I can even foresee if Steam, by some ridiculous turn of luck, goes bankrupt at any point, they can't legally stop you from having those games because you own them. So, it's just, however many years in the future, you can still be able to play that game. So, I think releasing it on PC was probably the best idea, but I'm not sure whether it would appeal to a new audience because, the graphics, as Wayne said, but it's the gameplay itself. RPGs have come a long way since then as well.
Yeah, honestly, I love the fact that it's releasing on PC. I was literally about to buy the game until I saw the whole, you can just click a button and then get, maxed stats and everything, and that put me off completely. The fact that you're able to do that made me not want to buy the game, and I honestly think that they would have had a lot bigger of an audience buying it for nostalgia value than for people that have never played it before. Or maybe people that have played 10 and 10-2, etc. A lot of people started playing Final Fantasy when Final Fantasy X came out. Maybe they were to go back and play the older games. Yeah. But, I guess there's a small audience there where they might not care much about the graphics, but they might still want to level max. But I just don't see why anyone would want to. It takes away from the experience. At least for me. I'm being very egocentric about all this, but for me, the whole experience is the grind, is the leveling, and then you can be stuck on something for 2 days. You grind for 2 days just to kill this stupid-ass boss guy, and then you feel good about life.
Yeah, it's not just you, Wayne. I think for a lot of hardcore RPGers, I mean, saying actually, your standard RPGer, that's what they expect. They expect to have to gain experience. They expect to level up, and they expect to have to, defeat these tougher enemies. And that's what I love about RPGs is the fact that I got to work at it, as opposed to them holding my hands each step of the way. I don't need that. I know RPGs. I know how to play them. I don't need you to hold my hand. I just want you to, let me play the game the way I want to play the game, and that's not with a potion that will, increase all my stats to max level. That defeats the purpose of a challenge of an RPG, in my opinion.
Mm. Yeah, exactly that.
Yeah, I feel I'm not really, admittedly, a massive fan of RPGs. I like RPGs, I like Final Fantasy VII, I like 10, I like the battle system in 13. I'm a massive Kingdom Hearts fan, but I wouldn't say that I'm a massive JRPG fan in general. But I feel like the part of the charm of a JRPG is, having to work, because you've got to put the hours in to get the rewards. The one thing that I've always admired about JRPGs is the idea of the optional final boss that is always more powerful than the normal final boss. Like in Kingdom Hearts, it was Sephiroth, and he had a little bit more health. We had a lot more health, and a lot more power than the last boss had normally. And you had to grind to at least level 70 to get to him, whereas you could complete the game at level 55, I think. And, it was difficult. And it was an optional boss, and once you got that, you got the last piece of a recipe to make the ultimate weapon. And so it's you have to work towards getting the thing that will give you the ultimate weapon, but you've got to grind to get to that point and things like that. So it's all about, the charm is all about being able to do all these extra things afterwards because you've put the work into it.
Yeah, it's always good when, an RPG especially, that it's very very easy for an RPG to, you either get bored if there's too much to do, or it just kind of tails off towards the end. You drag through to the end of the story and you're done. Yeah. So the idea that an RPG would bother to add extra content along the way, and then also sort of end game / beyond end game content is a really good idea. Like the optional final boss, if somebody's played the rest of that damn game, they're not going to go, "No, I'm good. I'll leave that." They're going to work for it because you're so invested by this point. It's like, yeah, you know, I'm gonna kick that guy's ass. Just give me a couple of hours to grind up for it, that kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like that's part of the charm of it, because when I played Kingdom Hearts 2, I finished that game 99%. There was one thing I couldn't do, so annoyed me, but at the end of the day, it was a case of, like, I carried on working. I never ever got to the point where I actually finished it, and it made me so sad. And so I feel like I'd worked all that way, and I want to keep going back to it, but I just can't.
Yeah.
I had the same experience with Final Fantasy X. I think Final Fantasy X did exactly what, as you said, in such a perfect way. You know, you could go to the end and defeat Sin, or you can continue on and gather all the Dark Aeons. I don't know if you guys remember this, but
yeah, I remember.
And the game, there was so much replayability, and I didn't even know this. The first time I completed a game, I did Sin. And I was like, that's it. I completed the game until I realized, hang on, you can actually still keep on going. And, you know, you can just go through the entire game and collecting all these Dark Aeons. And there was so much extra to do. And I loved that so much. And the whole, you know, the main quest, you know, up until Sin, I found that easy enough. So I don't see why, I don't see why they have to, you know, hold your hand up until that point, because that was more than easy enough, like they're doing with Final Fantasy VII. I mean, because that was easy enough, and it wasn't until after that point that I started to struggle, having to collect all the Dark Aeons, like you said. So I feel like it was good for the, you know, the guys who aren't so hardcore, who aren't so into grinding so much, because you could reach that point to defeat Sin pretty easily, in my opinion. And then you could, if you're a hardcore player, you can continue on and keep playing the game, you know, past the end of the game, and do the extra little bits, which I think they should have done with Final Fantasy VII, as opposed to just throwing in the whole, you know, here's your potion and reach max stats, you know. The game's easy enough as it is, you know, just add the extra replayability, you know, the harder part for the rest of us.
Yeah.
Like a challenge.
You don't want to remove the amount of choice a player has in an RPG of how much work they put in, because at the end of the day, RPGs are, whether or not they're like got a moral choice system, and they're about how much time you want to put into it. Generally, an RPG you're going to put a fair bit of your time into, but you know, even if you don't provide a ton of extra content, if you got things like, oh, you can level up so you defeat this boss easier, or you can do this bit of game quicker and focus on another bit, that sort of thing. If you take away that basic choice of how a person wants to play the game, like, you might as well just be playing like the press space to win game.
Yeah, but
it's just like you know, all you can upgrade is strength. Just keep pressing space repeatedly. That's boring. It was funny as like a 5-second game concept, but stretched out over a whole game, it would get kind of boring.
Yeah. But the thing is, isn't putting this in, giving them an extra choice?
I don't know, because it's sort of, I feel like it takes away, it provides an extra option to shortcut, fair enough, but I think the point is, it would be better to choose whether or not, you know, you're enjoying the game enough to play it more, if that makes sense. Like, if you're not investing enough time in it, you're not really enjoying it.
Yeah. They're
kind of trying to string you along to keep playing that game a bit longer by going, oh, well, I guess I can, you know, shortcut.
Yeah.
You know, that doesn't seem right to me. If I'm not enjoying a game, I'll just put it down and leave it. I wouldn't say, oh, well, I'll boost my character up a level and see if that makes any difference.
Yeah. It's sort of the idea of, I know Wayne quite enjoys it, but it's not something I enjoy so much, is speedrunning games. We have we have an idea that we want to do, but I mean, it's not proper speedrunning. But you know, there are people that they exploit glitches in the game to finish the game quicker. Like there's in Skyrim, you can put a plate up against the wall, and that means you can walk through walls because of the glitch that comes with hitboxes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Walking Simulator 2013.
Yeah, basically, and it's just like you spend so much time, you know, going through the game in Skyrim. Skyrim is all about you going around, you working your way up all the guilds and things like that, and doing the story and defeating the dragons, you know. But doing that's investing time to sit there and exploit something that wasn't originally programmed into the game and that sort of thing. And it just defeats the object of enjoyment. There are some people that enjoy playing it that way, but that's not the way I like playing it. It's not I don't want to
Yeah.
finish a game in 10 seconds flat, you know?
I'm not taking the game as an outright challenge of how much can you fuck with me and just destroy this game in a few seconds. Like, especially with a big open game like Skyrim, it's kind of I'm waiting for it to drop. It drops you into the world at the beginning, and then it's like do whatever you want. I'm like cool, and you just kind of wander around looking for stuff to do. That's the fun of RPGs. It's like here's all this shit to do. Take your pick. It's not like it doesn't really matter what you do because once you get X amount of XP, it's just you can boost your character to max stats. You don't need to level.
Yeah.
There's the only reason I enjoy speed clearing in that sense, some games, is because like a game like Pokemon Blue, for example, like the original Pokemon Blue back in the Game Boy Black and White days. I've completed that game so many times that I was getting bored of it, and I wanted to find a new way to play it. And speed running Pokemon Blue, there isn't. I think there's hardly any glitching in that game at all. Anyway, it's just like it just makes the game a bit harder, and it gave me another way to finish the game. And then another game is like Dark Souls, which doesn't exploit at all. It's just putting everything on the line to try and it's another way to play it without exploits.
Yeah, it's
at all. But for me, speed clearing, I only go to speed clearing when I've enjoyed a game so much that I need a new way to play it because it's just the same thing all the time. With something like Final Fantasy VII, RPGs that long people do speed clear them, but their speed clears will like the speed clear world record of Final Fantasy IX segmented is like 9.5 hours. That's not a speed clear.
It kind of
that's
9.5
hours.
That's like the experience of the game just really cut short.
Yeah,
it's not a speed clear.
Yeah, it's like no extra missions, nothing. It's like I watched during that awesome Games Done Quick thing. I watched the Metroid extra run, the one that was like 46 minutes. 4 people did it in 46 minutes, something like that. Yeah. And I really enjoyed that there wasn't a glitch in that game. They just used what they were given in the game to finish the game, like to skip bits. Like they were able to do a certain type of jump and that sort of thing. I think there was only one glitch, and that was a point where they could hold one of the jumps or the speed cross things. I can't remember what it's called. It's been so long. But yeah, I enjoyed watching that because they didn't do anything that was breaking the game. It was mainly keeping using what they had to finish the game quicker. They used the tools at their disposal. They didn't try and like phase through walls or stuff like that. It was all about they'd worked on the timing, they'd worked on this, they'd worked on that, and it was just I enjoyed that. But then when you get things like I watched a semi-speed clear of Skyrim where they didn't try and speed clear it, but they were using the speed clear glitches and that sort of thing, and it was fun to watch. But I just didn't really. If I did it like that, it would just ruin the game a little bit for me, because they skipped 95% of Skyrim by phasing through the first wall. They skipped quite a bit at the beginning. They went up a mountain. They skipped another 10%, that sort of thing. And so it really sort of cut out quite a lot of what makes a game like Skyrim enjoyable, and that is the story mode.
I watched that speed clear myself, and it was very boring to watch. Personally, and I think it'd be very boring to do. Whenever I've spoken about speed clearing a game, the majority of the time, the game that I'm speaking about, I think the only exception is Portal 2, because you are glitching in the sense that you're portaling through portals because of clipping. But other than that game, any game that I've sped clear, it's either very, very minimal, like to next to nothing in glitches. It's just routing and mapping, and everything has been done so efficiently that it's like you're racing with a whole community of people, and that's what I enjoy about it. Going into Final Fantasy 7 and even 8, like I just saw, but especially number 7, saying, "Hey, you're having trouble? Here, max all your levels right now and just finish the game because we can do that for you." That's a whole new level. That's not even that's not speed clearing. It's giving you max stats to start the game with and just go through. What's the point? I actually don't understand the point of going through a RPG like when you've already got everything, because half the fun for me of going through an RPG is unlocking new skills, unlocking new abilities. 10-2 is the best example. You've got, like, my memory is really deceiving me here, but I think it might be 18 or 21 dress spheres or something like that. And once you finish the game, you can carry on, stick around, and grind all of those dress spheres to a master level. And that was one of my favourite things to do in 10-2 once I finished the game.
Yeah.
Same could be said about, number 10 with the sphere grids. Like, even after I, defeated Sin, after I collected the Aeons, I kept going to finish that sphere grids.
I love that sphere grid.
That was just an amazing, an amazing feature, and it added so much replayability to this game.
Yeah.
That's what they're taking out, the replayability. Like, if someone said to you, "Hey, Mass, do you want us to unlock this entire sphere grid for you for free?"
Right. Then I'd just get bored. I mean, there's no challenge there, and that's another thing. That's why I don't really speed clear myself, because I enjoy exploring. I enjoy the whole grind, and you don't get the grind, you don't get the exploration when you speed clear, or when the game's too easy on you, because you don't feel like there's any effort into it. You may as well just skip past it. If you're going to skip past all the grinding, you may as well skip past everything else that may come.
Well, it depends. Like, so half the speed. Well, it's about a quarter of the speed clear games aren't like what you guys are thinking, like just glitching through walls and just finishing it like that.
No, but I still see like what Mass is saying. It kind of boils down to whether or not you're able to see a game as like I would go into a game and see it as like, I'm experiencing this game. I'm going to take in as much as I can. I'm going to depending on what kind of game, obviously I'm going to explore as much as I can. I'm going to look for things. I'm going to just kind of occasionally stand back and breathe it all in. Whereas to me, just the idea of speed clearing, I know it's not all glitching, this, that, the other, but it's the idea of turning like multi-sensory experience into a, I'm here, the end is over there, or like, no, the objective is over there, I'm going straight to that. I'm kind of ignoring all this stuff that
I think
people have put in hours of work into this game experience, and you're just kind of getting past it for the sole objective.
I see where you're coming from, but like you completely disregarded what I said then about how I speed clear. Pokemon Blue, I've completed that game probably close to 30 to 40 times normally. So it was I've already seen everything there is to see in that game. I've done everything you can do. I wanted a new goal to play the game, because like I was like, well, if I go through again, I'm not going to be too fussed about seeing certain things and doing this. And then I saw that there was a speed clear, and I could race against the community and against the speed clear community to finish it as fast as possible in the best way possible. And it was just a second way for me to play that game after I'd already seen all the beauty of the game, played everything to do with the game. The reason that I'm annoyed by Final Fantasy VII, well, by Square Enix, or Squaresoft, I think the studios were back then.
Square Enix.
But Square Enix now. Incorporating that whole method into Final Fantasy VII is because it's not
an actual challenge. It's a shortcut.
There's no way to sort of. There's no challenge in that. You're buying your way to the end of the game.
It's like fully playing the game and speed running it had a weird, horrible child that they gave up for adoption, because it's cutting the corners off actually playing the game and grinding, because it makes it easier, but not in a positive way.
Yeah.
But it's also kind of being like, well, this game boosts me up, so speed running it wouldn't be any kind of challenge. There's no purpose to this. So you're kind of left in a weird mid-ground where it's like, well, what is this game? It's just kind of there.
Speedrunning is definitely not like an easy thing to do, which is why I enjoy it. It's a hard thing to do in the games that I do it in. So I wouldn't say they're the same thing at all. Like, they are completely different.
But can I just say that a lot of gamers, maybe the newer generation, when I think of speedrun, a lot of them they play these games not to purposely speedrun, but that's what they do. The fact that they may play like Skyrim, and they just do the main quest and finish the game and leave it at that. It's not a speedrun per se, but for a lot of this new generation, I think Tom touched upon this. They see it as a race. They just want to complete the game and leave it at that.
Yeah.
And that's what they've done with Final Fantasy VII. They've given them this capability to finish the race a lot sooner and a lot faster, knowing that they don't have the patience to wait it out. But at the end, it's a race, and they want to finish first as soon as possible.
But isn't that a sad sort of showing of
it
generation?
Is.
It's like
Anybody who jumps into Skyrim and goes, I'm going to do the main story and
Which,
just
by the way,
leave,
takes
should
maybe
be
3 or 4
shot.
hours.
You know what?
They should be shot in the face with a giant shotgun.
Take an arrow to the face.
Exactly.
But the thing that I've noticed, I don't know whether it's just me but you know, I see in my mind I've got these people spent so long playing the game. And this is nothing on you, obviously, Wayne, because you said that you've played it through enough times. But people spend so long in this game, and it looks so amazing that I actually feel bad fast traveling from place to place sometimes. Like, I don't mind traipsing from one place to another in a game like Fallout because, someone spent loads of times, and even though it looks like a derelict wasteland, it looks fantastic, and I feel bad having to skip through.
It's a beautiful wasteland.
Exactly.
It's a beautiful wasteland.
And even though it doesn't really feel like, if you fast travel, all it's doing is making the game a little bit faster for you, but I feel like I've missed out a good chunk of someone's work, and it makes me feel bad in my eyes that I've Fallout, I'm going to travel from wherever the ghouls live I can't speak so fucking to Vault like 101, and it's just like I feel like I've missed out this chunk of the enemies that are in it. Someone sat down, they designed those enemies, random
enemies, random events,
exactly,
all that kind of thing.
All those things that can happen at random. Just like I feel like I've left those out, and they make me feel bad because at the end of the day, they look amazing. Fallout to this day to me looks pretty good for the year it was made, and that sort of thing. It still looks pretty good, and it just brings to the table the idea of somebody is putting all this work into it, and if you speed run, like as Mass was saying, like you don't do any side missions or anything like that, you're missing out so much work that someone's
You're
done.
essentially completely missing the point of a game like that, as you just go in and treat it like COD or something where you do the main story mission and then leave it. Because if you think about, like, to use Fallout 3, I guess, as an example, the amount of random, tiny little tucked away explorable buildings and stuff they have in that game is off the fucking chain. Like, somebody has worked on nearly everything. There's Easter eggs all over the place. If you're on foot, there's random events, random UFOs, this, that, the other, all kinds of crazy stuff.
Yeah.
And if you're just like going, okay, I've done this mission. Oh, that's nice. It's giving me the fast travel waypoint. Oh, I'll have to walk a bit. Like, you're not in the right mindset. Why are you playing this game? Like, fair enough if you get something out of that, but to me, it would seem like, if you kind of had that rush of, I need to get this game over with so I can go play another game or go play multiplayer something with my friends, then it's just not. I don't know why you'd even bother to begin with, to be honest.
Well, no, you're right. I mean, it just depends on the type of player you are, and we're just touching on this point again, where where these speedsters, they may they see it as a race, so they're trying to get to the end as soon as possible, so they're going to use this fast travel. But at the same time, where the rest of us might decide to walk it, we may find a little dungeon on the way, or something along the way which we get to experience and explore, whereas for the rest of these speedrunners, they have no problem missing that, and just skipping through it. And I guess it just depends. I'm playing devil's advocate now. It just depends, what type of player you are. And if you're willing to skip that, if you're willing to leave that behind and not experience it, then, fair game to you. But, for the rest of us, I like to experience it. I like to, be in the game and, and to be part of it and not just, to miss everything. So I will want to experience that. I will run through that wasteland and look for cabins and whatever they may be.
Yeah. It's like moving at the pace of the game rather than moving at, okay, I need to get here by then.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I want to say a couple of things. Like, I've been trying to speak for like the last 5 minutes.
Fuck off.
Fuck you. Going back quickly, really fast, going back to the whole Final Fantasy VII thing, saying that it's a way for this new generation to play the game. I think we touched already, like, I haven't done proper, enough research for it to be, facts, but I am almost certain that, the sort of people that would want to speed through a game, that are new, and would want that just to be able to speed through the game quickly, in this new generation would not appreciate the graphics enough to do it anyway. Therefore, what was the point in doing that? Because by trying to appeal to an audience, you're not appealing to that audience in another way. And then with Skyrim, I wanted to say that I agreed with what you said about people just playing the story, which is only 4 hours short. I have a level. I think my Arcane Archer that I made is level 37 now. The only main story he's done is, spoiler alert, is he killed the dragon in Whiterun,
Oh,
and that's it.
God, I've only played 5 hours of the game, Wayne. Fuck you. No, sorry.
Yeah, right. And he's like level 41 because of all the 30 or 40 something. I can't remember. I haven't played it in like a few days. But like he's such a high level just from doing the Thieves Guilds, the Dark Brotherhoods. He hasn't even joined the Companions, which is the equivalent of the Fighters Guild in like Morrowind and Oblivion. He hasn't touched the Mages Guild. He's been all these side quests. My side quest panel has about 60 quests inside. My miscellaneous, which is in that panel, also then has about another 30. And you get all of that from the roaming, like you guys were talking about.
Yeah, exactly.
But like I found myself that I still use the fast travel system. Like if when I was doing the Thieves Guild, I'd have to go from like essentially what is the bottom right of the map all the way to the top left of the map. Just which is about like it's going to take you about 45 minutes to walk that. Like if you did it by walking. So I appreciate the fast travel system being there in that sense.
Yeah.
Because by the time you do all of these other quests anyway, like you're going to see everywhere anyway. Like and like I can't see. I understand that people don't. I just don't understand why they don't. Like end up doing all these extra quests and things like that if they're playing a game like Skyrim in the first place.
It's sort of that's pretty much the point. Is the fact is that you actually have to get to those points though to be able to fast travel to them. Yeah.
Well,
so
kind of. Well, you don't. The major cities you can just fast travel to them with a carriage.
Oh yeah. But but you have to pay for those though.
Yeah, but it's like 50 gold and my character's about 21,000.
I totally didn't know about that carriage at the beginning.
Me
first
either.
time I played the game.
Me either.
Totally didn't. I don't think I figured out until like my third character, which Subwolves. But whatever. I had fun walking. Shut up.
Yeah, but like so, the point is that to get to those points, to make the most main points, you have to walk to them to find them, and by that point you've seen a majority of what you want to see anyway. So to go from the bottom right to the top left fast travelling, you pretty much have to have fast travelled to have walked to most of those points and seen most of the things on the way there in the first place.
Yeah.
So you've already seen those things, like fast travelling, 45-minute walk, don't get me wrong. I have done that in Skyrim. I've walked from one end to the other, and, it's quite good fun occasionally, but you don't want to do it all the time. But, I mean, I'm talking when you first get out of the cave and they ask you to go to Whiterun, you walk there, it doesn't take you that long, but you look around, you're just like, fuck, this place looks amazing. You look around and it's just like, wow. There are moments in a few games where I stopped for a minute and looked out just to look out at the landscape, and it looks amazing. I mean, the new Tomb Raider game has this point where you're climbing up a phone tower. I think Tom's played Tomb Raider, right?
Not that far.
You haven't got that far into the game. It is literally 20% into the
Wait. I don't know. I honestly haven't played that game that much because the opening of that game was, hey, do you like QTEs? I was like, no. And it was like, oh. And then it threw all these QTEs at me and I was like, oh, play this another time.
But there's a point in that game, you climb up a radio tower, and while you're climbing up it, when it cuts to a cutscene as you get to about 3/4 of the way up the ladder, and it sort of spins around her and it shows you this landscape of a mountain. And I can only imagine in the new game it's going to look even better, but it looked absolutely fantastic on the game. And I actually, after the cutscene finished, I took a moment to look out and sort of take in what was there. And I mean, it's not like I'm going to be able to climb a mountain like that in real life because I'm an unfit bastard. But I mean, just looking at that sort of, there are points in games like that point, or when you first come out of the cave in Skyrim, or when you first get out of the vault in Fallout 3, where you have to sort of stop and take in your surroundings. And sometimes I feel like if they didn't have that point in the game, like we have to walk from place to place, you can't take in those surroundings.
Yeah, no, you are completely right.
Yeah, I'm not sort of stop. I'm not saying the fast travel system is there for a reason, because not everybody wants to walk 45 minutes every time they want to go from this end to this end, and sometimes that can be annoying. And you can get chased down by loads of things and stuff like that. And the fact that they take away the ability to fast travel if you're being chased by enemies or something like that, I like that. It's like you have to finish this job before you know.
Yeah.
It's like you walked into this shit. Fucking sort it out.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not dealing with this.
There's a quest in the Dark Brotherhood that takes place in Solitude, yeah. And you've obviously got your target, but the target is such a big target that it's almost as soon as you take care of them, if you don't do it in like certain ways, you're definitely going to have a bounty on your head from the get-go. And the Dark Brotherhood is all the way in the southwest of the map. Solitude is all the way in the mid-ish north of the map, northwest-ish.
Yeah.
It took me like half an hour to run away. The guards were chasing me the entire way. I'm thinking it may have glitched out, but I'm not sure. But like, they were following me the entire way, all the way to the Dark Brotherhood. It took me half an hour just to escape it. And the fact that I still escaped and took the time to do that made me just feel so good. I did, however, turn the game off after.
Yeah. Yeah, with Grand Theft Auto, when you're playing online, if you've got bounty on your head, you've got wanted level, you have to pay to leave. Not real money, obviously. You have to pay. You have to pay off the police to stop chasing you, or you have to pay the bounty to leave and that sort of thing. So it's like, I feel that, like, even though there's easy ways to do things, there are ways that stop you from taking the easy way out. And I like that, but I also like exploring as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there are a lot of games out there that I don't enjoy. The free roam games I don't enjoy and something, but at the same time, there are just as many I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There are.
It's always a very appealing concept to me. It just depends whether or not you get on with the world you're thrown into.
Yeah.
Like, there's been a few times when I've been playing Metro Last Light recently where, okay, it's not exactly free roam, but there's plenty of little side paths in, like, the main quote-unquote towns, as well as ways around the different levels and stuff, where you can just branch off, explore, find a bit of extra, backstory of the world. And that's a game where, even though it's not massive amounts of free roam, I just want to take everything in. I want to go everywhere, explore everything, because it's a really well built, well constructed world, like quite believable. But there could be a game that is a big free roam and a lot of people like, and you'll go into it and you'll be like, no, this isn't quite my thing. Like, I felt that the first time I played New Vegas.
Yeah.
I played a bit and I was like, no, this isn't Fallout 3. It's quite, like, there's some slight differences which were annoying me, before I originally grew to like it. So I was just like, no, I've dropped in. It's been fun exploring, but I'm not coming back here, kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, but then again, this also comes back to the idea of graphics. I mean, we're saying how great things look and that sort of thing. But at the end of the day, do graphics matter as much as we think they do, like, these days? As much as society has come to believe that great graphics make a great game. I mean, when we get to, like, these HD remasters and that sort of thing, you've got to think about does it really matter how much the games have to be upscaled? Because if you look at the new Tomb Raider, I mean, the original version of it on the Xbox 360 and PS3 looked just fine to me. I thought it looked pretty good. And now they're releasing a new one with, like, the parts that they couldn't add to these console versions because they didn't have the right processing power, but were on the PC version, and they sort of upscaled those as well. So, I mean, is it worth having those extra things? Does that make a game better in any way?
I wouldn't say it made the game better.
No.
Just in my opinion, it doesn't make the game better. But it does open it up to people who do look at these sort of things, who look at the sequences, the movie sequences within the game, and say, yeah, that's the type of game I want to play. The CGI is great. That's more likely the newer generation.
Yeah.
But it doesn't improve on the game at all.
I mean,
I think it's kind of additional sales after it's died down. The kind of definitive editions of games seems to be kind of, we can kind of bundle the DLC and some extra stuff we weren't sure about adding.
Yeah.
Like, there's not usually much extra content. They do a few tweaks, like they've done with Tomb Raider. They've got a new Lara model.
Yeah.
Why?
Why not?
That's kind of seems a bit irrelevant. They've got, the remastered graphics for the slightly more powerful console boxes. But yeah, it doesn't seem like they're always a great idea. They're kind of extra. They add bits on to give people who haven't already played it an extra incentive to pick it up. It's like, oh, there's even more content for probably about the same price as the game is. Anyway, I might as well grab it. Like Deus Ex had the director's cut.
Yeah.
Which I'd be interested in playing personally. Again, like, another audience it's for is people who love the shit out of a game and want even more from it than whatever DLCs or anything. So, I think they can be a good idea, but it really, a lot of the improvements, especially with Tomb Raider, seem a little bit shallow. Yeah,
I feel like Tomb Raider is the definitive edition is released too soon, if anything.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, everybody who's bought a PS4 and Xbox One probably still has their last generation console still there. Because, I have an Xbox One, and I'll be the first one to admit, neither of the consoles really have any games yet. So everybody who has an Xbox One or a PS4 still has their old consoles out. So it's a case of, why release it now when everybody's still got their consoles out? You're going to make less sales because the game originally is £5-6 now. You know, and you can buy the DLC, it'll go on sale sooner or later anyway. Why release it so close to the launch of the next console? Because if you released it in a year's time when there's a whole host of games out, then you really you stand more chance, because a lot more people have probably put away their Xbox 360 or their PS3 and that sort of thing, so it gives them another chance to play it. With things like the HD remasters that are out for the last generation, like Kingdom Hearts, we've got the Final Fantasy one coming up, we have Devil May Cry, Silent Hill. Those are games that came out on the last generation, but late enough into that generation that, you know, they put away the consoles, but they don't have the backwards compatibility on the new ones, so they want to still be able to play it. So I feel like the HD remasters are a good idea, like when they were back on the PS3 and Xbox 360, because it was it was later on, the consoles had gone away, into a box somewhere with the rest of the graveyard, and so I really feel like, the new Tomb Raider does have this sort of weird transition where, it's better graphics, but is it really worth it when most of the people that liked the game have already bought it?
Yeah, I think I see what you mean.
Sorry, go ahead.
I see what you mean about Tomb Raider being too soon, absolutely, because there was also the fact that a lot of people, quite rightly, don't buy consoles on launch because the launch lineups are usually... Sometimes they'll have a good game. A lot of the time it's, look, this is what the hardware does. It's basically a bunch of demos.
Yeah, exactly.
For this console will be good. And it's like, okay, I believe you, I will keep this console until more games come out.
Yeah.
And they could have waited a bit, because the more games start coming out for the Xbox One and PS4, the more people will have them. So the more people that could have missed the game before or had the game before, but have thought, I haven't played that for a long time, I'll pick up this new edition.
Yeah.
We'll get it. Whereas as it is, as you said, they've still got their 360s or PS3 sitting around. They've still got their old copies of the game, probably quite close by as well. And they're kind of like, I still play that sometimes. So it's right there in front of me. What's the point? And
it's like giving them more reason to stay with the new generation instead of keeping out the old generation.
Yeah, I get the feeling that maybe it's sort of to go, look, we've got a game for this console, and people buy it, and then they feel better that they've got a proper game for this console, even though they technically own it. I absolutely understand that, because I nearly had that problem with my Vita recently, where I'd bought a few games, I'd started playing them, and I was like, man, I don't know if this thing's going to have many games that appeal to me. So I started looking at games and being like, right, I'm going to buy this and this, and then I was like, wait, what? I don't need to justify the console in that way. I'll just buy games, as I'm done.
Exactly.
Kind of
I've really got to a point now with the Xbox One. I do like it. I'm happy that I bought it. The first big game that comes out, in my mind, the first real game that comes out for the Xbox One after launch is Metal Gear Solid Ground Zeroes, which is coming out at the end of February. And then we've got Titanfall and that sort of thing. So really, Tomb Raider is the only game that's coming out between now and February. So it may be a good time to do it. But I mean, the games I'm playing at the moment are games that are also on the last generation, but I've got a discount with the launch titles. And I also have Halo Spartan Assault, which was a decent sort of pick up and play game, but it wasn't a fantastic game in general. And sort of going back to the graphics idea, I bought Lego Marvel Superheroes, which Tom will tell you he loves it too.
I love that game so much.
It's a fantastic game. In my eyes, probably the best Marvel game that's ever been released.
Oh yeah, absolutely, because it's not just a shitty movie cash-in tie-in piece of crap.
Exactly.
They put a lot of love into it, and Traveller's Tales know how to make those Lego games.
Exactly.
And they obviously give a shit about the Marvel stuff at the same time.
It's like it was made by people who know the franchise that they're playing. But the thing is just like, that sort of game is, if that wasn't a Lego game, a lot more people would play it. I have a friend who hated the game before he'd even played it because it was a Lego game, and in his mind all Lego games were shit. And don't get me wrong, there have been a lot of bad Lego games. I personally didn't like any of the ones after Star Wars.
I didn't play anything between Superheroes and Lego Star Wars 2. I don't think.
I mean, Lego Star Wars, the complete saga I borrowed from a friend for a while, but it was just like I didn't really enjoy any of the games. But I heard nothing but good things about Lego Marvel Superheroes, and I wanted to get another game to play that would break up, Need for Speed, Battlefield, FIFA, because they're the games that came in my bundle. And I was just sort of, they're good games, but I want a game I can play offline or on the same screen with a friend. And so I bought Lego Marvel Superheroes on a whim, and to be honest, probably my favourite game on the Xbox One at the moment. So
don't blame me. Don't blame me at all.
So much fun, and it's just the idea that it goes back to between the HD remasters about the graphics mattering and stuff like that. I know people that almost completely written it off before they'd even played it because it was a Lego game and a Lego game was shit. But he played it, and he's so addicted to it that he went out the next day and bought it. So it goes to show that really, it doesn't matter what kind of game you're playing. If you enjoy it, it doesn't matter what it looks like. As long as you're enjoying, in my head, as long as you enjoy the game. You can't sit there and play a game, enjoy it, and then put the controller down and be like, no, the game was shit because the graphics suck. High and mighty. I don't have the best PC. I've played the higher res version of Skyrim and things like that. And don't get me wrong, it makes the game look fantastic. And if I had a choice if the two games were the same price, and I had a choice between Skyrim on the Xbox and Skyrim on the PC at high resolution pack, I'd easily buy the PC version. But if I didn't have that choice, it wouldn't bother me that much.
Yeah, I think a lot of people will be playing the old games for nostalgia, or because I remember we always used to talk about this game. I never really got around to trying that.
Yeah.
So HD remakes are kind of a good idea because you're bringing it to maybe a more relevant platform.
Yeah.
Saves them going through the hassle.
Mm.
And, it looks a bit prettier, so it's a bit easier on the eye. But at the same time, a lot of people aren't going to be too worried if you just slightly upgrade the graphics as opposed to you spend, 100 hours on each individual bloody texture or something like that.
Mm.
I think the people that buy that kind of thing aren't going to mind too much.
Yeah, exactly. It's just, I think that my personal opinion is, and I don't know whether it's because I've grown up with consoles as opposed to PC or whatever, but it's just a case of graphics to me aren't the end of everything. It's like
no way at all.
I still to this day play Sonic the Hedgehog 1, Sonic Adventure 2, and I play fucking Streets of Rage on a regular basis. And they're games to me that they look fantastic to me because they are games that I enjoy playing. The graphics on them are 2D and they're pixelated and they're 16-bit or, the Dreamcast graphics. But at the same time, it's just a case of the games are still just fun to play. I would easily play a game and I'm sure we'll go into it in the future, about, games that are fun to play. It doesn't matter whether they're good looking. They're so good. Everybody wants to go back to that era. And we've got games coming out now that are just 2D. Look at Scott Pilgrim. The graphics on that are basically throwback graphics to old school 16, 32-bit games.
Yeah.
So it really sort of feels like there's people out there that still have that passion. And so many people have written off because it looks crap.
Yeah, the issue is, I think that people would, if people that are writing these games off because they don't look as pretty actually try to play the game and then didn't like it because they just didn't like the game, that's cool. But people don't give the game a chance just because something looks bad.
And just because, to carry on a tradition, those sort of people are probably the people who play games like Call of Duty.
I was actually thinking about that. This entire conversation, all I've had in my head is the Xbox One conference where they were talking about how you can see their hair on their arms.
Yeah.
It's like
that's
no homo, but man, check out that Navy SEAL's arms.
Check out those cuticles, motherfucker. Follicles, even. Jesus. Whoops. But yeah, I mean, the original Call of Duty's on the Xbox 360. I can't, to be honest, differentiate. If you showed me two things if you showed me two different games without the HUD, I wouldn't be able to tell the difference between the two in my eyes because, they all have the same graphics engine, that sort of thing. There's one released every year, and I really feel like they really sort of just started trying to recycle textures. And a lot of people have had this real problem with Call of Duty Ghosts that it looks better on the Xbox One and PS4, of course, but it doesn't look enough different to warrant there being an upgrading console.
Yeah, it's because, they do this yearly release thing, so rather than I doubt they've made a full new engine in a very long time. I think they just you kind of overhaul bits, whatever they need to, off the new engine. But I doubt even then they do that much because, their levels are pretty similar in size from game to game. Their multiplayer maps aren't really getting any bigger either. So, they're not rendering much more in terms of anything. So, I can see why people would be disappointed with it looking a bit shit, because maybe they get new textures sometimes, maybe they reuse some, but at the end of the day, they are working with, pretty old software. They're just trying to sort of pump out the COD experience every year, basically.
Yeah. I get sort of annoyed with things like that because, fair enough, back in the day we could do the point where we could do this thing where we had different games. They didn't play that different, but then they felt like different games. Like when you play games like Streets of Rage 2 to 3, not much changed, but people still enjoyed the third one because at the end of the day, there wasn't many technological advances at the time. They couldn't add new things. They could try new little bits, but I don't think there's much. They couldn't do much, so there wasn't really they pumped out the same thing with the different textures on it, and it was fine. But these days, they have so many tools in front of them that they could try something new and risk something, and it worked very well. My biggest thing was when I was 16, I did a video on this, was the differences between Resident Evil 4 and Resident Evil 5. It was a 2-minute video because there are no differences. But I really felt like they could have tried so much more. With Call of Duty, I feel really disappointed that Modern Warfare 1 and World at War were two fantastic games. In my opinion, the story was so well done on both of those. Everybody hated World at War, but the ending of World at War, when you had to push to put the flag in the ground and stuff like that really sort of it felt like they actually had some emotion in that. And and I really liked, because you were, you'd been shot, and one of your mates you sort of fell down, and one of your comrades picked you up and dragged you to the thing so you could put the flag in the ground. It was like a real emotional ending. Modern Warfare with the nuke at the end, that was so fantastic, so huge. What happened to those stories? I can tolerate not changing the gameplay too much as long as they sort of carried on that amazing sort of storytelling aspect, but no, it's all multiplayer with them, and so they don't change anything. The story's weak, and the multiplayer's always the same now. And
but games like that is a CGI fest,
It's games as an experience, but in the wrong way. Where it's not like Skyrim, where you're dropped into a big world. It's like Call of Duty, or say another good example, the Battlefield 3. Single player, where it's kind of, you stand over the keyboard, I'll drag you past all these things. No, you don't have to even hold a button to look at something. It's cool, I'm going to turn the camera, right, shoot this guy right now, I'm going to make you look at this, and it's kind of a hand-holding experience, but it makes experience a dirty word, because you're literally doing nothing, you're just kind of on those rails watching everything happen around you, and it's like, well, this is impressive, but it's not immersive in the slightest.
I really think that is basically pulling around full circle to our Final Fantasy debate, that you don't really have an experience, you're pretty much just fumbling your way through the game.
Yeah.
And I think on that note, we should probably have we'll take that full circle and we'll put an end to it.
Yeah.
Put it to bed. What do you think, guys?
Yeah.
I mean, if you've got anything to add right now, if you've got any closing statements, go for it.
Go for it.
Square Enix, I used to love you, and now I think you're all a bunch of retards. But I'll still be buying your next Final Fantasy games anyway, love you.
Can I just say, we've talked about how a lot of games are, CGI fest and whatnot, but there are players like, I don't know about you guys, but for me, I still enjoy 8-bit games, or these low CGI games. I love them as well. I mean, just the other day I bought the Humble Bundle, and there's a bunch of these roguelike games, because I like that type of game, but they're not significant when it comes to CGI. They're a lot of them are 2D. So
exactly.
But so there are game creators out there, especially the indie games now. A lot of them you'll find that are not specifically CGI fests, and a lot of us can still enjoy them. So there are a lot of us out there who still enjoy these these I'd say 8-bit, 16-bit games, and they're still pumping those out for us. It's not just all Call of Duty gamers.
And I'm thankful for all of those people. They
absolutely.
If by chance any of them are listening, thank you. Keep making these games.
Yeah,
please do dig on.
The indie guys, they're the ones who are really putting it forward.
They're the guys that don't have the companies behind them go, you need to make this, you need to make this. They're making what they want. They're making what people ask them to make, sort of, in a way. They are the people that they see there's a need for this, so they make this type of game. So yeah, I really understand what you're talking about. Yeah, it's definitely, I'm thankful for all of those guys. They definitely should carry on what they're doing.
Yeah, I just wanted to throw that in there.
Yeah.
It's taking gaming back to how it used to be, like way back when games were made the way they wanted them to be made, and they weren't made easier or more difficult or changed in any way just because of a small target audience saying, whining, saying, no, we don't like this, it's too difficult.
Yeah, it is wonderful how so many indie games, for not only for, sake of budget, whatever, but due to demand, are really downscaling the graphics focus that all the big AAA shooters and stuff focus on.
Yeah. And
we're getting a great thing where a lot of people are slowly giving less and less of a shit about graphics. And, gaming is evolving because it's like, okay, graphics, they're good right now, we've got this. And they're focusing just on gameplay, and we're getting some really, really good games from this.
Yeah. The one thing that makes me, I suppose it's laugh and it makes me happy at the same time that it's currently doing this, is that I have paid, indie games, they're affordable. They're a lot cheaper than AAA games, that sort of thing. And it's like, I pay a maximum £10, £15 for an indie game these days. Not like because I don't want to pay anymore, it's because how much they are, And to me, a lot of those games are still coming out better than the AAA games. Like, I can see a COD every year coming out for the next 5 or 6 years. But then this indie game, to me, plays better. It's got more of an experience to it because there's just, I don't know what it is about this, but it's just such a raw, like, you can tell the love went into that game.
Yeah, I mean, I can pay, £30 or £40 for these, these games made by these big names, and only play them for an hour and, get tired of them. And then I can go to, play games like, Faster Than Light or Knights of Pen and Paper, right? These games, Knights of Pen and Paper as well, that's literally made for the guys who enjoy 16-bit games.
Yeah.
And I've lost count how many hours. Let me check. I mean, I spent a ton of hours, 45 hours on Faster Than Light alone, and that's a tiny game compared to these bigger games like Call of Duty, where you'd spend £45 and I wouldn't play them for more than a couple of hours.
Yeah.
And here I play, Faster Than Light 45 hours and I spent maybe £2 or £3 on it, and it's the quality of the game,
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, I think that's the thing is that, to be honest, I think this is going to become a subcast eventually. We should do with this because we have so much to say about indie games, and a lot of the games, the ones that get big for a reason. The ones that sort of the hidden gems, they're there for a reason. And there are so many, like Steam Greenlight. It's a case of people put their game out there. People want to play it, they vote it up, and if they get enough votes, they're gonna be like, yeah, we're putting your game on Steam Greenlight, So it's finding hidden gems and helping them to make money to go to the next stage. But anyway, guys, on that note, the final thing there. Just before we go, I'll make a quick announcement. Me and Wayne had a bit of a talk, and we have an idea, and anybody who listens to this, we want your feedback as well. Basically, me and Wayne want to start doing game races, and we want to know what parameters you guys would use what rules you'd give for point system. So far we want to do a speed run of Final Fantasy 13. It's not exactly going to be a speed run, it's still going to take us about 15, 16, 17, 40 hours. We don't know. But we want to know what parameters. So far we've got time is going to be, your points are going to be dependent on time versus your completion rate. If you guys have any other ideas of what we could do for a game like Final Fantasy 13 that would help us to score it, then we'd like to hear from you guys. We want to do other games as well. We have a list of games that we're thinking about, but at the moment this was literally the game we hatched the idea on. So that's our idea, and we want you guys to give us some sort of feedback on that. So, and
just to make you aware, it won't be like speed running in the sense it will be as fast as possible. It will be just a race between us two. Like it'll be glitchless. There'll be no hacking, cheating, and like going through walls. We'll be playing the game as intended.
Yeah.
But,
one of the
friendly race.
The only two rules we've come up with so far that would annul the game is no glitching through walls or anything like that. And secondly, no looking at guides. We want it, if you get stuck on a bit, you have to work your way through it and find your way through it, or just skip that bit if it's not part of the story. But that means you also sacrifice completion percentage. So there's sort of pushes and drawbacks for each one. And so actually the only other problem we have that quickly before that is we can't do video diaries of that. We'd have to have pictures on our Facebook page, which we've just put up. I should have announced that. Facebook.com/Beefy Sandwich. Look it up.
It'll be in the description.
Hopefully you're watching this video from that page. That'd be nice.
Yeah, it would be fantastic if you were. If you're not watching the page, go over to their page, like it, and then come back. We'll wait.
Yeah.
We're waiting.
All right, come on, hurry up. It's Facebook. What are you, fucking 50? You know how to use the internet. Come on.
Are you done yet? Come on. All right. But yeah, we want your feedback. Send us Facebook messages, put something on our wall, whatever. Just give us some ideas. That's what we want. Even get ideas for games, because we want to do sort of older games. We don't want to do new games because obviously we haven't played them all the way through yet, and we don't want to ruin it for ourselves. So if you have suggestions for games, rules, but yeah, thanks guys if you want to give us those. And yes, on that note, we bid you adieu. Thanks for listening, guys, and we really, really hope you enjoyed it.
All I'm going to say, guys, is GG WP.
WP, guys.